let's shift gears for a second here, because I know not only have you made a difference in the life of people in the sales industry, let's say, or people in the sales profession, but you've made you made a difference in the lives of a lot of other people. And I remember some of the work you're doing with kids and developing a concept and a program around what you call Life Plan that you developed. And I'm curious how this came about. What are some of the proud stories of success there? Because that's not dealing with salespeople. That's not dealing with frontline salespeople. That's different. And I believe for anybody listening in today, there's a whole nother side of who John Hoskins is. And I just want to hear, I want our audience to hear more about that, John. Tell us about Life Plan, how that came about.
So after selling Advantage and the Real Learning Company to BTS in 2006, I was 56. I wasn't really ready to retire. And I was getting antsy. And a guy that I played tennis with named Andy Mecca, Dr. Andy Mecca, was the drug czar for the state of California. He reported to Pete Wilson when Wilson was the governor. And he shifted the mentality of that organization from what they used to call trail 'em, nail 'em, and jail 'em. And that was their approach to solving the drug, addiction problem in the state of California. And he wanted to go to the source of the problem. Why do people get involved in drug and alcohol abuse from the very start? And of course, you find out that it happens when they're teenagers. And so he undertook a process of looking into the whole area of mentoring children. And he found that by putting an adult into a child's life who simply affirms that child and says, you're a good person and you can do good as well, will make a huge difference in the trajectory of that person's life. So Andy wrote a book called The Life Plan, and he called me, he said, let's have coffee. I want to show you my book before I send it out to publish. And I read the book and I said, Andy, this is really good, but it's targeted at parents and teachers and clergy people, et cetera. You need to get to the kids. And the way you got to do that is you got to train them to build a written personal life plan. And so he said, how would I do that? And I wrote a nice size check and I went to Root Learning, our pals in Toledo, and asked them to participate. And they built what was then at the time, really, I thought a world-class approach, 9 modules, taking a child through the whole process of understanding where they were in life. And we had a tagline. It was called Life Plan, a journey of choices, decisions, and consequences. And there's 4 things that happen to teenage kids that derail them. One is they get involved in a teenage pregnancy on one side or the other. The second is they join a gang. The third is they get involved in drug and alcohol abuse. And then the fourth is they drop out of high school. And so we built this non-denominational and open to well-to-do kids privileged in the suburbs and kids that were in the inner city and having a tough time. And you would find in all of those segments of society, teenagers are really troubled. And you want to talk about the toughest sales job I ever encountered was getting kids who were on the wrong track back on the right track. So I would give you an example. I mean, I remember being in LA at a table doing facilitation, and this kid said, hey, what do you mean join a gang? My father's in a gang, my brother's in a gang, my uncle's in the gang, my grandfather was in a gang. You think I'm not going to be in a gang? It's a tough sell, but that still exists. I don't have an operational role in it, but my hope at that point was if we could get 1 kid, 10 kids, a dozen kids who 50 years from now, they're being interviewed on TV, and somebody say, well, how did you become president of the United States? They said, well, long time ago, I got this program called the Life Plan, and it really set me on the right path to who I am today. So it was fun.
I mean, what kid doesn't need that? I mean, you think about it. I mean, if you come from a good family and there's no dysfunction, those issues of pregnancies and gangs and drugs and dropping out of school, then hopefully are mitigated, let's say. But for those unfortunate ones, boy, there's so many folks to reach, not, all over the globe. obviously, to help people like this. And even your concept, John, of trailing them, nailing them, jailing them, with how this came about from the research in terms of the drug studies and things like this. It's got a little emotional connection to selling there as well, like trailing them, almost like pipeline development or building up a prospect and nailing them in terms of advancing sales cycles. There's so many life metaphors. You and I are always into trying to figure things out there. But that's phenomenal work, John. And those are the things that I'm really proud of that I know you've done and are still actively looking for ways to give back of your time and things like this.